Okay, that's my time. Hi everyone. So I want to really be real and honest to you from the get-go. So we have to talk about my leggings. Okay? Before we go into any philosophical elucubrations, because it is connected, I have to tell you that for me to come up on stage wearing this was actually an interesting and good deep process. Because I wanted to come up on stage with the leggings. And the leggings may be an expression of a part of me that I usually tend to relegate somewhere in the shadow. If you wish, you can call it the more feminine part of me. Whatever. But nevertheless, it is a part of me. And as I sat with the emotions of like, God, I want to do it, but what will people think about it? What will I think about it? I actually recapitulated in a short time span my whole journey with shadow. And a lot of my life has been about bringing together things that were seemingly opposite. Tantra has a fancy word for that, polarity. For example, masculine and feminine, but also light and dark. And this is exactly what I want to share with you today, what I want to talk about, but also what I want to gently and lovingly bring you in, if you're willing. So let's talk about shadow. What is it, first of all? So I've got a shadow, right next to me, projecting on the screen. And I'm here to not only bring your attention to it, but also say that somehow it can be valuable and important to get to know that reflection, that dark reflection, in order to embody my purpose, to find my purpose and to embody my purpose. So how is that possible? Well, first of all, let's name the shadow as whatever part of me I am not aware of. Whatever part of me I have learned through life experiences that it's better not to show up, not to show to the world, so that I can get love, attention, money, recognition, etc., etc. So from that standpoint, is it clear for everyone that we all have a shadow? That we all have disowned parts that for one reason or another we don't want to bring up to the surface, because then we will lose our job, then we will lose love and affection and money, whatever that is. Yeah? Are we all on the same page on that? Good. So the shadow is a collection of traits of personality, a collection of energies. I was referring before to my feminine energies, yes, indeed. As a male, socialized as a male and socialized as a heterosexual male in a heterosexual promoting society, because I grew up in Italy back in the 80s, you can imagine. I did learn to put any trait of my personality that could remotely ring of femininity into the shadow. So here's one first thing to really realize about the shadow. It doesn't necessarily contain negative stuff. It contains all sorts of things that from, high sensitivity to art expressivity, to God knows what, extreme empathy. But for one reason or another, you have learned that it's better not to show them, because otherwise you will not get love, money, attention. Basically, you will not survive. Yeah? So now, how does that tie in with purpose? Well, here are at least 3 great reasons why getting to know those parts is essential for anyone who wants to live an embodied life of purpose. First, as somebody else has quoted before today, and it's like of a second-degree quote, someone quoted James Hillman. I'm going to quote James Hillman again with his acorn theory. If it is true that my purpose is whatever there is in me that came into this existence with a plan, with an aspiration, with a desire to change stuff in the world. So in other words, if I am a tree that at some point was an acorn, and if there is still an acorn in me that's still waiting to sprout, right? Well, but then that acorn must contain everything that I am, not just the part of me that whatever system of morals and ethics seems to be in place at the moment likes. Right? So getting to know my shadow is part of the journey towards understanding my acorn, towards understanding, if you wish, or making contact, if you wish, with my soul, and therefore towards recognizing my true purpose. Number 1 reason. Number 2, keeping things hidden takes a hell lot of energy. A hell lot of energy. The amount of energy that we invest in keeping traits hidden from the public view is astonishing. The upside of that is that when we relax around the disowned, unacceptable, socially inconvenient parts, we reclaim that energy. And it's a little bit like, closing that app on your mobile phone that was draining your battery the whole time, and you forgot that you had opened a few days ago. And then when you find, you're like, reclaim that life force back. So that's reason number 2. And then reason number 3. And I'm seeing this happening more and more and more, so it's really a word of warning for all of us, actually, and for myself. Because if we don't look at the shadow, and if we don't bring it up, and if we don't love it, and we will speak more about it, integrate it, it will come back anyway. And it will come back in some nasty, contorted ways, just because, like everything else, if you force any life form to live and develop in a very constricted space where there is no oxygen, no sunlight, no air, no space, it will thrive, and it will adapt, and it will contort. And before you know it, it will spring up from the bottom of your feet and throw you completely off balance. And one way that is sadly happening more and more is with sexual abuse of all kinds. Because of course sexual abuse is not just, the very, very blatant case of assault. But sexual abuse is also all those behaviors and actions that are happening in otherwise perfectly safe environments, including environments that all of us, have been part of or are part of. But because an essential part of people's personality, like sexual desire, is in the shadow, and because there is the illusion of safety, that not talking about it takes it out of the picture, well, then what it does is that it shows up as the inappropriate touch on the leg, as the inappropriate message on WhatsApp, as the inappropriate blink of the eye, whatever that is. So the third reason is because owning the shadow and working with it is, in my humble opinion, the only true way to create safe collective environments. Be it a training, be it a workplace, be it a community that lives together, be it a business. So I'm really curious to see what would happen if in the boardroom of the businesses of today and tomorrow there was an allocated space where people could bring up their most hidden traits, desires, longings, fears, and have a structure, have a process, have a space that supports that. That would be something to really, really look into. Okay, so this is the reasons why looking at the shadow and working with it is one of the most important ways towards integration and towards soul work, understanding our purpose, and then being an agent of change in the collectivity. And now what I want to share with you before we move into some practice is, and I have to be really honest, I just came up with this, so it could be an interesting thing, but when sometimes people share like, oh, these are the 3 S's for personal transformation. I hate that stuff. I really hate it. But there I was like, doing my movements and emotional releases in the back room, and I came up with 3 C's. So it happened. And indeed, these are, in my view and from my experience, the 3 main tools or attitudes for working with the shadow. First, commitment. Because stalking our own shadow and letting the disowned parts of us speak and be seen is an ongoing process. It doesn't happen once and then it's done. It's ongoing, because just as we evolve through life and change, the shadow also does. So a commitment, a relentless commitment to do the work, whatever that is, whether deep self-inquiry of any kind or body work, it's different for everyone, commitment. And then the second one is courage. The courage to actually face the shadows when they come up. Because especially if they have been in the shadow, in the unknown for a long time, they can be pretty pissed and kind of show up as quite angry. I can tell you that my inner feminine, my inner woman that I had disowned and almost not let speak for about 15, 20 years, when she first started to speak, it was not pretty. It was kind of like nasty. And it takes courage to stay with that and not run away. And then the third one is community. And the reason why really deep shadow work can only be done in community is not as obvious as it may seem. It's not that we need to do everything in community because we're entering the Aquarian age and that's the cool thing to do. It's because literally parts of our shadow are so much in our blind spot that there is no way that we can turn around and look at them, because the moment we turn, they're turning to with us. Does that make sense? And here's when having a community of people, having peers that are looking at you, that are watching you, that are loving you in a relentless and kind of ruthless way is key. Because they do see those blind spots. Because I can go around, for years and years thinking and saying to myself that I'm a very compassionate person and that I, show up as love with everyone and I'm open and forgiving. But if 3 or 4 of the friends that I really trust come to me with love and integrity and say, I have to tell you, I perceive in you a quite cold, ruthless bastard, which has happened, then I have to just listen to that, don't I? And we will see now together that perhaps that cold, ruthless bastard that I am doing all I can not to recognize, not to see it, and to deny that I'm even close to that, is perhaps one of the parts of me that is the most valuable for my own connection to purpose and for my purposeful action in the world. Okay. So I don't want to say much more. I've completely skipped any biographical details about myself because really, who cares? I mean, I could tell you a bunch of things that I've done to bridge these two opposites, including quite a few illegal things and perhaps quite a few immoral things for some of you, I venture to say, but maybe it's best to leave that, for a later stage when we will mingle as friends on the sofa, and then, I'm happy to do that. And I would like to actually ask now for your trust. Because if you're willing, I'm going to lead us and to move us into an embodied experience of that. And as always, when we touch the subjects of shadow and sexuality and eroticism, it can be quite sensitive. So, knowing that you are completely in your sovereignty to do whatever you want, and that no one is going to look at you, I want to invite you to trust for the next 10 minutes and to let some parts of your shadow speak. And I don't mean speak, but I mean speak, because we're going to do it through the body. So what I want to propose to us is to do a process that I have called a shadow integration mudra. And what that means is we're going to give an embodied expression to a part of our shadow. So let me show this to you from my own very real personal experience. Yeah, a part of me is constantly judging each and every one of you and every person I meet. And the body language of that part is exactly this. Anyone else has that? Show of hands? Oh, nice. I feel so much more at ease now. Great. Okay, so that's the first part. But stay with me for just another second, because this is kind of relatively simple to do. But now what I'm asking you to do is to convert this into an integration mudra. And this may or may not be available for all of you, in this very moment. Doesn't matter. We'll give it a try and stay with where you're at. So the question is, this part of me that's judging and pointing the finger, and also pointing the finger backwards, of course, how is this part secretly trying to bring me into integration and into connection with my purpose? In other words, what is the secret gift of this part? What is she or he, it doesn't matter, really wanting to do for me? And for example, this part of me that's judging and pointing the finger actually secretly wants each one of you that I'm pointing the finger at to show up and to be in your fullest, sexiest, most alive, powerful version of yourself. And so actually what I discovered just recently having a lunch conversation with a friend is that this is secretly this. It's like, go. Fucking go. Just go. Just do it. Just don't lose time in your petty concerns or in your doubts or in your showing up as a little wounded man or woman. And yes, there can be a ruthless edge to it, but there is also love. And of course, it goes for me as well. It's like, yeah, go. Yeah? Does that make sense? How many of you feel this part in you as well? Great. Awesome. So what I'm going to ask us to do very soon, I want to give you the structure of it so that we can then talk very, very little, is we're going to gather in groups of, I would say, 4. And then in turn, each one of us will have, first of all, like a couple of minutes just to drop in and feel, but I don't want you to overthink it, okay? So it doesn't matter if it looks or it doesn't look the way you want it to look. But each one of us is going to go and in the middle, so to speak, of their little pod, their little group, and call a shadow part. And you can use just a few words. There is a part of me that is always judging everyone and everything. Or there is a part of me that is terrified to go into any form of confrontation. And you will have a gesture for it. And if you can, then I would like you to find the integration version of that. which could be, for example, the part of me that's very scary is a part of me that is protective and safe. Okay? Shall we? So please stand up. And without as little words as possible, as little time as possible, just find yourself in a group of 4. About the chairs, let's just be kind of reasonable with the chairs. It's okay to move them a little bit, but not to create chaos. Okay, everybody. We have about 8 minutes to do this, so we have to be really precise and accurate. And it's going to be 2 minutes each. So I want all of us, first of all, to quickly drop in, close your eyes, there where you are, shake your body a little bit if you want to, let go of any tension. Close your eyes if you haven't done so already. And just connect to a part of you that is usually not allowed to be seen. And taking a deep breath, opening our eyes, and without words, allowing the synergy of the group to work its magic. The first person, you can briefly name your shadow and then embody it for just a few seconds. Go ahead. And if you have embodied it already, feel into whether that gesture wants to turn itself into an integration mudra. It may or may not be available for you at this time. Everything is okay. No need to force it. If you feel that you need reflections from your group to help you out with the gesture, you can invite them. But please, no unsolicited advice, only if requested. Not going into words too much, and if you want to do it once more, there is 20 more seconds, so feel free to reenact it one more time. Give it another try. You can change something around if you feel, or if you are content, you can just witness in silence. Okay, beautiful. And we're moving to the next person. So person number 2, your turn, your opportunity to quickly give a name to your shadow and embody it. Go for it. And now see if spontaneously from the body an integration mudra arises that turns that gesture into another gesture that's supportive for your growth, supportive for your purpose. And a few more seconds, if you wish, you can reenact it again or ask for some support from your group if you need it. And coming back to silence there where we are, as we move into the third person. So third person, your turn, embodying an aspect of your shadow. As you feel ready, you can go. So we're not explaining the shadow, we're not figuring it out. If you need any support, you can ask for it. Let your body speak. And now you can see whether this gesture can transform itself into an integration mudra and become a body language that's supportive for your purpose, supportive for your growth. And a few more seconds. You can reenact it. You can ask for feedback if you want to, but otherwise, no conversation. Just allow the bodies to speak. And each group in their own pace, moving to the last person in the group. Connecting deeply. You can close your eyes for a couple of seconds and allowing your body to find an expression of one of your shadow aspects. And seeing whether this gesture transforms into an integration mudra. Again, this may or may not be your experience, so no need to force it, but give it a try. See what the body wants to do. Let it speak. And a few more seconds, you can use them, repeating the gesture once more, or just allowing the experience to be whatever it is at the moment. Great. And go ahead, and if you wish, you can connect your bodies, the four of you, in any way that feels natural and comfortable. A hug, or putting the foreheads together, whatever feels real and true. I invite you to do this without words, because words just take from the experience rather than adding to it in this moment. Okay, great. So if I can have, please, everyone come back to a seat. Doesn't need to be your seat. Whatever feels right as we come to the conclusion of this short and I hope useful experience for you. I would just like to conclude with a few wrap-up words. So first of all, show of hands, who feels safer in the space with other people after this exercise? Please raise your hand. So here's another paradox. When the shadows come up into the space, we're actually safer. Isn't that great? So I invite you to continue investigating, loving your shadow, finding the people that you trust and the situations that you trust so that your shadow can come up and be witnessed in love, in presence, and so that it can become another piece of the puzzle towards finding your purpose and towards living the best life you can possibly live. Thank you. Thank you.